Hello and welcome to a new edition of our show, Money Means Business. As we always say, and business means money. Stability and business mean a lot of money. Actually, we always cover the developments happening daily in Egypt, weekly and monthly, and every day and every minute there are developments taking place on the local scene, definitely. This week we are celebrating the glorious October War. Great feelings for the generation, especially that survived that war. And had the experience, my generation, of course, and others who were older and a bit younger. And the pride we feel, the sensations we feel, it was a glorious thing that happened. It was a miracle, a miraculous achievement by the Egyptian army, and the spirit remained. And then again, there were questions, for some time, are we going to regain again the spirit of October? Now it's like there is the spirit of October in which everybody allied with everybody, and the spirit was wonderful. There was zeal everywhere to help the army, to help each other and succeed and triumph. And this is what took place. Well, we're going to be talking about that, more details about the economic ramifications of that war, if we have other crossings, and how to regain the October spirit, but in other crossings that every day we are just crossing problems, we are just having a crossing, but not a major one, definitely, but we had a major one on the 6th of October and others. We're going to be talking about that. But before doing this, we're going to be also talking, starting with the hacking of Facebook and what happened last week. What happened last week, this we're going to be finding out, but after the break. Now we're going for a short break, after we should be coming back. Stay tuned to us, don't go away. We're back again to Money Means Business, and we're going to be starting actually with the outage that happened last week and the hacking of Facebook and the social web. And we have with us online engineer Muhammad Azem, expert on technology and communications technology, actually. Hello, sir.
Hello, how's everything with you, sir, madam?
Yes, sir. Well, everybody is wondering, there are causes that have been said about the outage and what happened, the hacking of the social media, Facebook, and what happened exactly?
Actually, this consider one of the greatest outages happened in the era of the modern technology, having more than 2 or 3 billion users to be disconnected all over the world in over 6 hours. This is not something simple. It's not something easy. Actually, this means that everyone was disconnected. Everyone was not able to be communicating with each other on the family side, on the business side, even on the official side, because now, Madam, that you know that governments, officials, business community, individuals are using the social platforms to communicate with their customers, with their citizens, with counterpart, having spreading the business news, the political news. So everything we are coming from actually from the social media platforms. For example, WhatsApp, we have like 100 billion messages sent daily using this application. We have more 1.2 billion users using an application like WhatsApp. So this is becoming a very serious issue, because the outage shows that how fragile the system is, how it could easily making our life more difficult, making us totally disconnected, and making our life belongs to the last century or even the century before the last century. So this is not an easy thing. What happened to Facebook and different platforms, this is not an easy thing. It could be a technical fault. It could be a massive cyber attack. Nobody can tell exactly what happened to have such outage. However, the economic consequences of such what happened during last week, a Facebook company which is leading the Nasdaq stock market lost almost 5% of its market share, or the market value is like $50 billion US. Even Mark Zuckerberg lost like $7 billion of his personal wealth over 6 hours. And this affecting everyone, not only the company, because the company is, of course, is not only leading the Nasdaq stock market or stock place, and it's not only doing this. Actually, it's a model for the new economy, the digital economy. So this could give the investor a very serious message. It could give the consumer a very serious message. That our system needs to be more robust, because it's very clear that it was very fragile, and the outage showed that it's simply that we cannot conduct business like this. So we need to think of alternatives. We need to think of a different way of be communicated in a way or another, having different platforms, having alternatives. So it's a very complicated issue that affected the whole world, actually, not only our country or our region. And I think it would give a very serious message to the policymakers, to the business leaders, and even to individuals how to use such platforms in the future.
It's amazing that, you know, how some people, many people actually felt that their life came to a halt with the stoppage of that. They got so used to this that it just affected their life so much that they feel they really miss it so much. Well, forgetting that how we were before having all that.
Actually, it's a very complicated, because nobody can tell exactly what happened. And definitely, it would be not the first case, and it would be not the last case. That's why I think we need a new framework of dealing our businesses and dealing with the services that government and business provided to citizens digitally. We need to have a different platforms. We do have more robust platforms. We need to have different ecosystem that is more secured, because we are protecting almost 11 trillion dollar economy, which is the value of the digital economy. We are conducting almost 15% of the global economy are now coming from such platforms. So this is something that we need to reconsider. We need to have more studies to understand what happened and how to avoid this in the future. Because if it happened again, I think it would be very difficult, because it will definitely everyone will lose what's called the digital trust, the trust between the service providers and the consumers, which could actually make the whole system at risk. And that's something nobody can afford on the individual level, on the business level, and even on nations level, on the global level as well.
Could we say that this is, everybody was just fearing for their own privacy when something like this happens? There are lots of pictures of people, private information.
Sorry, I cannot hear the question.
Yeah, when this happened, a lot of people feared for the privacy of their own messages, of their own pictures. Lots of people publish lots of information, or information that goes and comes, in applications like WhatsApp that could be private. They were really worried about the information that could be transferred to unwanted parties.
Definitely, cybersecurity and information and the privacy are becoming one of the most pressing issues that's facing the world today. Of course, all over the world, we have a problem of the data privacy issue. We have a problem with how protected my data is, how manipulated my data is. So this is actually is becoming a concern even to governments. Some governments now are issuing legal framework that protecting the personal information. Egypt, one of them, actually, we have a law for protecting the personal information. And some other countries like the European Union have the same law. However, in the digital space, actually, having a 100% protection, having 100% security is almost impossible. That's why we need also to use more sophisticated technology to protect our data from manipulation, to protect our data from being misused. And if you look at even this becoming a concern for the NATO leaders, for example, the term cyber was mentioned like 25 times in the last in the final statement during their meeting last July. And even the cyber security and cyber attacks and cyber crimes are becoming on the top of the agenda between the leaders of the superpowers, like the talks between President Biden and President Putin, the Chinese president and the U.S. president, because if you are able to go and hack a system, to manipulate a system, and make life miserable for a country, this actually could lead to have another crisis like what happened in the last century, almost 6 years ago, but in additional format this time. That's why NATO is becoming or considering having a massive cyber attack is similar to having a massive military attack against the members of NATO. So the world is changing. The cyber security is even redefining the concept and notion of the national security concept. So we are living a different world, and that's why you need to have a different tools that's matching the new dynamics of this new world.
Engineer Mohammed Azam, thank you very much for being with us. We're going for a short break, after which we'll come back and we'll start our show with our guest for tonight. So.
Egypt, represented by the Ministry of Finance, signed the first contract of green and Islamic credit facilities worth $2 billion for a period of 3 years to be used in financing environmentally compatible projects and financing the general budget. The maturity of the joint facilities extends for 3 years, and the ESG tranche will be used to finance green projects in accordance with the Green Finance Framework of the Ministry of Finance in the country, which came into effect in September 2020. The Ministry of Petroleum and Mineral Resources announced an increase in gasoline prices, and the Fuel Automatic Pricing Committee decided to raise the prices of gasoline and diesel by 25 piasters. The adjustments of the selling price of gasoline products of its 3 types was as follows: £7 per litre of petrol 80, £8.25 per litre of 92 gasoline, £9.25 for a litre of gasoline 95, while the price of diesel remained stable at 6.75 piasters per litre. Ministry of Agriculture and Land Reclamation announced that the United Arab Emirates approved the import of Egyptian processed poultry meat and products. Abdelhakim Mahmoud, head of the General Authority for Veterinary Services at the Ministry of Agriculture, said that the authority received a letter from the Ministry of Climate Change and Environment in the United Arab Emirates regarding the approval of the health certificate from the export of beef, sheep, goats, processed and heat-treated poultry and their products after studying the Egyptian health situation by the site. Egypt's exports of ceramics and sanitary ware increased by 15.2% during the first 8 months of 2021 to a record about $182 million compared to $158 million during the same period in 2020. The report of the Export Council of Building Materials indicated that 9 countries, namely Germany, Libya, Britain, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Italy, Yemen, Turkey, Sudan, acquired 68.6% of sanitary ware and ceramic exports with a value of $124.941 million. There is no talk to the world now except about the threatening winter for the old continent. Darkness surrounds spots that used to shine in Paris, London, Rome and Vienna. The shares of the Russian Gazprom company rose on the Moscow Stock Exchange on Tuesday and Wednesday to historical levels due to the rise in gas prices in Europe to an unprecedented level. In an unprecedented event, natural gas contracts recorded new heights in Europe this week, and regional benchmark prices rose by about 500% before falling back after the intervention of Russian President Vladimir Putin, who in turn offered an increase in Russian gas supplies to Europe, which controlled little to the matter. Official data show that China's foreign exchange reserves fell to $3.201 trillion at the end of September, down from $3.232 trillion by the end of August. And central bank data show that China held gold reserves of $109.18 billion at the end of last month, down from $113.69 billion at the end of August. The British newspaper Daily Mail expected that the electric power supply project from Morocco to Britain would create tens of thousands of direct and indirect job opportunities in the kingdom, which means disturbing tens of thousands of salaries. The newspaper said in a report that the electricity transmission line could supply 7 million British homes with energy, and it was possible to start laying cables in 2025, and it aims to finish the first half of the project in 2027 and the rest by 2029. The Turkish lira fell above the 8.9 level against the dollar last Wednesday, approaching the lowest level ever recorded last week due to fears of an unexpected rate cut. The lira recorded 8.925, approaching its lowest level ever at 8.949, which it reached on September 29th in 2021, amid concerns about the impact of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan on monetary policy. Last year, the lira lost about 30% of its value against the US currency. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations announced that world food prices rose for the second month in a row in September, reaching a 10-year peak driven by a rise in the prices of cereals and vegetable oils. FAO slightly raised its forecast for global cereal production in 2021 to a record 2.8 billion tons from 2.788 billion tons estimated last month. But it said those record expectations remain below projected consumptions.
Welcome back again to Money Means Business. Our main topic is what happened in the October War and the October spirit. But then, we were talking also the great event of actually the horrible thing that happened with the outage that happened with the social media. And let me first introduce our guest, Mr. Hani Abou Fatouh, economist and financial analyst. Welcome, sir, with us.
Hello.
Well, we've been talking to our guest, Engineer Mohammed Azem, about the outage that happened. How do you see that?
Well, every day we discover that we became very adept to using the social media. It has become an integral part of our daily lives. When the outage happened last week, we felt, most of us felt isolated.
Yes.
They felt as if they were disconnected from the entire world. Although it was a matter of just few hours, but the financial impact was very great. Also on the business side, many people and businesses use social media platforms to promote their own work, or even they use it for leisure.
Yes.
So this has proven that social platforms have become an integral part of our lives. And maybe I have a question that need to be answered. Is it about the time that we in the Middle East start creating our own social media platforms? Why something equivalent to
very interesting.
Something equivalent to the Facebook or
Yes.
the WhatsApp. I believe that from technical perspective it's possible.
Yes.
And Egypt is taking the lead on this front. But I mean, the question again to the concerned authorities and the Ministry of Communication. We are doing well on the technology side, so why we don't have our own platforms?
Yes, definitely. Very important question. And lots of people also felt threatened. They were just so scared as I asked the question. Like, you have your information, you have your photos, you have everything, every now and then you get these messages. Then you have to upgrade your own security thing, otherwise your photos will be, or your very
vulnerabilities to be hacked.
Exactly. So that was an issue also, why that happened, and would our secrets go out? Those people who have secret conversations, or whether personal or business or whatever, like that is also a concern.
Yes, this is actually a genuine concern.
Yeah.
It cannot be underestimated. Definitely. Because the threat of hacking or getting the private information from the laptops or handheld devices, this risk remains with us every day. And as the gentleman who spoke in the first part of this program, he said that there is no 100% security anywhere. It doesn't happen because the evil forces are more advanced, or they are competing with the lawful companies and technology makers in order to get benefit from their own means.
Definitely. The very funny thing that we got so much used to technology, modern technology, that sometimes, we were not having that before, but then now we cannot do without that. You cannot go, going somewhere, you have your own mobile with you. You can just, have the internet and contact anybody instead of using or calling someone and paying a lot of money. Then you call via Messenger, via anything, like any of these applications. The very funny thing is that, while watching an old movie, it's supposed to be historical, and then, instead of sending the pigeons to relay the messages, and I was thinking, wow, they don't have a mobile. They could have told them right away. It's like what we have now is just...
If they had a WhatsApp, it would just
exactly.
a matter of a click of,
now.
just a matter of a click of a button, and you send your pigeon,
Definitely.
your virtual pigeon.
Exactly, the virtual pigeon.
Yeah.
So it's like we had that tremendous boost and all the technological development. But then, like when something happens like that and everybody is prone to this is a calamity.
Indeed, and it's quite surprising that the social media platforms, name it Twitter, Facebook, whatever, they weren't there 15 years ago, or maybe less than 15 years ago, and surprisingly, almost everybody, not everyone, has a Facebook account. Everybody is very reliant on social media, either for work or for leisure. As I said, the social media is becoming more stronger, more influencing in our lives.
Yeah, not necessarily on the positive side. It has a negative. And
it's like a two-edged sword. It has its own benefits and disadvantages as well.
Definitely. Well, this is also, with all that, with the October War, the glory that we had, the spirit that youth don't really understand, but they just got a glimpse of it with the other crossing that we had recently. But the 6th of October War, that was a glorious achievement and a miracle achieved by our army, definitely. But then, it was not an easy thing, like the economic downside to it was definitely great. It was not an easy thing for everybody, but everybody worked, had this spirit. Everybody was with everybody, doing their best during that time. In these hard times, how did the government deal with such stumbling blocks and the downside of course, economically speaking, it was not really, repercussions were really hard.
Let me start with maybe earlier than October War, after the defeat of the June 1967. The Egypt had to rebuild the army again and allocate all possible funds to rebuild the capabilities of the armed forces. There were at that time very tough measures taken by the government in order to mobilize all funds and all capabilities to boost the armed forces. At that time, the imports were almost to the minimum. Hard currencies were all allocated to buying the spare parts and the weapons for the army. When it happened in 1973, it wasn't easy at all. The spirit of October, as you said, was very apparent in Egypt, not only among the armed forces personnel, but with all Egyptians of all ages, gender, backgrounds. They were inspired by the spirit of October. And because I lived that time, I was...
you lived and I lived that time too, so we're the generation.
I remember I was
we were young, but still.
Yes, I'm still young. I was in the first year of the secondary school, and we were all wearing military uniforms, and we were very proud that we had put on the military uniform. The spirit of lived within us, within every Egyptian. It created, the spirit of October created love among Egyptians and increased the cohesion between the people, the Egyptian people, the army, and the state. People at that time donated money to boost money, blood. I recall my father donated his wedding ring.
Yeah. Most precious.
Yes, it was everybody. Even the military personnel, they were paid only half of their salaries for several years in order to rebuild the capabilities of the armed forces. So this spirit inspired all Egyptians, and I see that on every occasion, particularly the national occasion, this spirit becomes more apparent, and people, even young people, when they watch a TV series about the war, the 1970s war,
they get a glimpse of it, but they haven't lived.
They haven't lived.
Yeah, but they get a glimpse of it.
But they still they are inspired when they watch TV series or films about the war.
Yeah.
So that's what we need. To continue for the second crossing. The first crossing was crossing the Suez Canal and shattering the myth of the Israeli
now, after all these
army.
years in 2021, how do you see it?
Say again?
How do you see it after all these years? We lived it in 1973. Now we are in 2021. You know, how do you look back at it, and how do you see the first crossing?
Because I lived that time, I see that everyone was inspired by the 6th of October spirit. These days, on national occasions, or even with the inauguration of projects and national projects, I see this spirit again.
Yeah.
I see this
you know
spirit
what, and you feel it right away when, like, because we lived
even
it.
among young people.
Yes.
Not the elderly people like us. Among young people, when they see the President Sisi inaugurates the mega projects in Sinai, in Alexandria, in Greater Cairo, everywhere, this spirit comes again and again, and that's what we need for now and for the future.
Yeah.
To rebuild the new republic, to rebuild Egypt with the same spirit of 6th of October.
I'd say, the second crossing, the 30th of June, everybody was willing to do the best, and they went in the streets in order to choose their president, and we chose our president. Like, everybody was really willing to cooperate and be together in order to rebuild our country and own part of it, and have our president, chosen president, who will be taking the lead and taking us to the future. And this is what happened. So it was a big second crossing when we were going to fall in the abyss of the Ikhwan, or the Brotherhood, and that was a very important time in history. I remember when we were in Tahrir Square or at the Hadaya, others were in Heliopolis and the other places, everybody was waiting for the speech and what would happen. That we're not going to work with the Constitution, the old Constitution, and we were just waiting for the to really after all our own efforts going every day to realize peace in Egypt among us, and to just keep away those who really are creating a threat to Egypt as a whole. Egyptians as a whole, we just did it, we made it, and there was the spirit again coming and rising. I felt it because I lived the spirit of October.
Yes, indeed, and I believe that the same spirit of October was evident after the revolution in June year 2013, and despite the intimidation of the Brotherhood group, the intimidation in the social media, the intimidation even on the streets, the Egyptian people gathered, and their belief in the political leadership, their their belief in the armed forces and their belief in Allah and God made it happen, and God's willing, the overthrow of the Brotherhood was possible by the spirit of October.
Exactly. That's it. It's like it's there, and this is like now the name and what we give it as it shows a name, because we really felt it from deeply inside, and this is
it's well rooted in every Egyptian.
Exactly. And then now like with people with let's say the younger generations who are not there to feel it, as you said, when they just watch the old movies and the new ones, with like we did it, we made it, and they just felt it, and they were really very proud. Everything is an achievement. They make them proud of their own country. And so we were thinking, we want to regain again the spirit of October, but it came up. It's there, as you said, deeply rooted in us, and in every situation that others think they'll just make us weaker, this arises and make us stronger.
In fact, as we are building the new republic, we must not forget that we have another battle against terrorism. On one hand, we are fighting terrorism, and the fight against terrorism, and on the other hand, we are building new Egypt, and building the future for the new generations with the spirit of October that is needed to continue for many years to come.
Definitely. We've been talking about also the countryside and working and the poorer and marginalized societies. Right now, there is a lot, we've been asking for this, Upper Egypt and other marginalized societies, the countryside and all that. And now, it's been reached, and a lot of projects are taking place there in order to upgrade life, to upgrade everything, and of course, economically speaking, to make these areas thrive. And of course, the whole, the effect will be, on the whole republic, the new republic. It has to be. This is part of it. After working on Sinai and still working on that, different places, other places that were marginalized, and new cities that are created. How do you see that right now as part of the efforts, the economic, let's say, the development efforts, and their own reflection on our economy? I'm not even saying only now, because there are hardships and difficulties, but work is undergoing as if there are no threats anywhere, in order to build the new republic.
The political leadership have a dream for the future, to rebuild Egypt and build the new republic, and that's why we see more initiatives, we see mega projects, we see every part in Egypt that receives attention for new projects, not only in the Greater Cairo, but in all parts of Egypt. I see that the vision of achieving 2030 objectives is coming. We are closer to achieve this vision. We need, of course, hard work. Of course, we need to understand and appreciate what is being done despite all difficulties.
Definitely. Well, that was my last question. But again, let me just put it again, less than 1 minute. How do you see the future now?
I see. I'm very.
Despite all the challenges.
Yeah, I'm optimistic, but it is not easy. And I tell everybody when I am asked the same question, yes, the difficult part has gone, but yet still we are facing many challenges, local challenges and regional challenges, and we need the spirit of October to deal with all these challenges.
Definitely. Well, thank you very much for being with us, Mr. Hani Abou Foutouh. We are looking forward to other meetings and seeing the developments taking place. And it's always a pleasure having you. As for our viewers, thank you very much for being with us. We'll see you again next week. As for now, God bless Egypt, God bless Egyptians, God bless our police, our army, our white army, our president, and as we quote from the Holy Quran, ادخلوا مصر إن شاء الله آمنين. Enter Egypt, God willing, safe, and from the Holy Bible, Mubarak Sha'bi Misr. Blessed be Egypt, my people. I'm Nermin Nazim signing off. We'll see you again next week. Goodbye for now.